Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
On a warm autumn morning, Her Majesty's Canadian ship Winnipeg leaves her base in Esquimalt, British Columbia and heads out into the Pacific.
Slow astern port.
Slow astern port. Slow astern port.
Half ahead starboard.
Half ahead starboard. Half ahead starboard.
Ship's head.
Half
Ship's
ahead.
head now, sir. 315 continues to quickly pay off the port, sir. Recommend 3 knots, sir.
XO. Finish with a tug. Slow ahead port.
Slow ahead port. Slow ahead port.
And shoot up at Victor 17, 235.
In less than a month, she'll sail over 22,000 kilometers, almost halfway around the world, with stops in Hong Kong and Thailand, then north across the Arabian Sea to the Persian Gulf. Her mission: enforce a United Nations trade embargo against Iraq.
What we're doing is we're establishing sea control off of a number of the coasts of the nations in the region, and controlling the flow of both cargo in and out of the theater, but more specifically to ensure that none of the Al-Qaeda or Taliban leadership escapes across the seaborne routes back across into the Arabian Peninsula.
A dangerous assignment in a place where there's no margin for error, and a split second divides survival or disaster. But HMCS Winnipeg, one of the most advanced warships in the world, is well up to the task. Her high-tech design allows her to integrate seamlessly into a U.S. Navy battle group, the only non-American ship in the Gulf Coalition that can do this. Commissioned in 1995, she's one of 12 Halifax-class patrol frigates built for the Canadian Navy. Price tag, $700 million per ship. The purpose was to combine the latest in surface, air, and underwater defense in a highly maneuverable, compact vessel. Rising 8 stories high, 1.5 football fields in length, Winnipeg has 2 upper, 4 lower decks and a crew of 243. She's less than half the length of an aircraft carrier, but longer than a World War II destroyer, and her computer-controlled weapons make her a formidable opponent. She's comparable to the American Perry and Russian Neustoshimy class of frigates, but Winnipeg is newer and more versatile. On her way to the Gulf, she'll test that versatility in a first-time-ever multiple missile launch. HMCS Winnipeg goes to the Gulf with a reputation, not just for technical wizardry, but for the skill of her boarding party. On her last mission, they nabbed more illegal tankers than any other ship in the battle group. One of those tankers was the Blue Eye, and her cargo of smuggled Iraqi oil.
Just kind of see him in distance. He's more at a red 30.
She was spotted by an American destroyer, the USS Benfold, but Benfold had no boarding party.
It was only Winnipeg that was authorized to conduct non-compliant boardings in that vicinity, and so it was really our job to stop this guy.
The 2 warships could easily sink the tanker, but civilians might die, and the resulting fire would cause an environmental disaster. There was only one choice: board the Blue Eye and force her to stop. The chase was on, a game of nautical chess between the Winnipeg and the captain of the tanker. His first move was to make a run for Iranian territorial waters.
500 yards on his starboard quarter on the same course and speed. In accordance with international law, we're not allowed to go into another nation's territorial waters. And so he gambled that he would be able to outrun us and get into the territorial waters before the boarding team actually got on board. He was wrong. Now, what's the range to the Iranian waters? All of the doors and hatches into the ship were sealed. They were welded closed, and he was just going to try and wait us out. And we then used the helicopter to move just slightly aft so that the pilots and the sharpshooters, or the snipers that were in the helicopter, could cover both the bridge of the ship and the boarding team in the boat, so that if somebody came out and attempted to take a shot at the boarding team, they would be provided the necessary coverage.
In the boarding party, adrenaline is running high.
Going into a blind situation, right? Like, you don't know what's there. You don't know if they got weapons. You don't know how they're going to react to you.
It's a tense moment for Commander Williams. 10 of his crew are now making the exposed crossing to the Blue Eye. He's also got to worry about the safety of his ship.
I've got my machine guns on them, so I have to be close enough so that if something happens, I can accurately order an engagement. At the same time, I don't want to put the ship in a position where if he turns on me, I have no escape route and I end up in a collision with the ship. Get closer into his wake, sir. Ships, you want to be almost in the waiting station. 1444.
Boarding the Blue Eye is not easy either. She's running at full speed. One false move, and the sailors could be tossed under the churning propellers of the fleeing tanker.
The boat is rocking side to side, so now you've got a fiberglass pole with approximately 15 pounds of aluminum on the end of it, trying to control it like a fishing rod and snap the ladder onto the top of the guardrail.
Adam, first man's on board now. The entire team's on board. Midships, 410, 115.
They're on, but taking control of the tanker will be much tougher than they expected. HMCS Winnipeg's boarding party are on the decks of the Blue Eye, but there's no sign of the crew, and the ship is still speeding towards Iranian waters. The team splits, one group out of sight on the port side, the other on the starboard side, trying to batter their way onto the bridge. This is the moment they've been trained for, and if necessary, they'll fight their way out of trouble.
The primary weapon used by the boarding party is a Sig Sauer 9mm pistol, okay? It was designed for the West German police force. It's extremely good for us. It's got a first shoot capability, which means I can just draw it out of the holster, point, and pull the trigger. It's going to fire. Secondary weapons that we use are the Heckler & Koch. Can you extend the stock on that for me? Heckler & Koch MP5 9mm submachine gun. It's got a tactical light, and as you can see here, it's got a 30-round magazine with a doubler, which gives you 60 rounds. The weapon can fire in either an automatic or semi-automatic mode. Okay, it's used by most SWAT teams around the world. It's an extremely good defensive weapon. Third weapon, my personal favorite, is the Remington 870 12-gauge shotgun. Okay, 4 rounds. What nice thing that I like about the shotgun is you can load it with whatever you want. You can have birdshot, buckshot, or slug. A slug will go right through the engine block of a car.
All that firepower is impressive, and that's exactly the point.
It comes down with presence, show of threat, right? If you come on board with weapons, these guys, people are gonna think, you know, you mean business, and, you know, we'll cooperate more.
They look and act like commandos, but they're actually specially trained sailors. Unlike other navies, Canada has no naval special forces. Instead, boarding parties are made up of members of the crew who have other duties on the ship. It's a throwback to the days of sail, when seamen were expected to board enemy ships and fight hand-to-hand. Now the idea has been reborn with a Canadian twist all of its own. Leading seaman Greg Hoffer is the captain's steward.
Oh, great. Thanks.
A job that requires some culinary skill.
Finish painting underneath the glass rack there.
He's also trained in first aid, but his real passion is the boarding party.
I really enjoy the weapons training. The self-defense training that we get is another good thing, the physical fitness of it. I'm a big adrenaline junkie, so doing all these non-compliant boardings and stuff is right up my alley, and I just love it. Like, it's my thing. This is why I joined the military, is this stuff here.
And Master Seaman Andrew Carnegie is a ship's bosun, one of the oldest jobs in the Navy.
We go right back to the time of Nelson and the sailing ships. Back in Nelson's time, the bosun was the guy who was out there hollering at the guys to heave in on the lines, and as you've seen today, I'm still the guy out here hollering at people to heave in on the lines. I think it's the most exciting job in the Navy, because now it's evolved, so not only does it mean that a bosun pulls on lines, we're doing all kinds of other interesting things. We do demolitions. In other words, we get to blow things up, okay? We do weapons, which means the 50 caliber heavy machine gun belongs to us. We get to operate and maintain that. We get to drive the ship. You see behind me, we've got the two boats. We get to operate those. So they're quite a bit of fun to drive.
Okay, this guy's got nothing either. Okay, this guy's clear as well.
It was this incredible hodgepodge of capabilities that we put together into a boarding team that we can use both in an assault role, but we also have the ability to do sailor roles and just basic maritime or seamanship roles that allow us to be so adaptable and so flexible.
I've been involved with them for about 10 years now, and I've seen it evolve from something that was very basic to what it is now. And what we have now is something that's far superior than what we did in the past.
At the Canadian Forces Base in Esquimalt, the training mixes commando, police SWAT team, and Coast Guard methods to create the unique Canadian border. The sailors are thrown into a variety of situations they might face at sea or on land.
No, I think I'll just sit here.
You're going to sit here, are you?
Yes.
Well, we're going to have to take you back behind our line. You can either come quietly with us.
Bring it back down the line.
Okay, come on, let's go. We're going to take you back behind the line, okay?
It's intense, grueling work with no opportunity to slack off.
You're gonna have to get right in there and dig around, get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid to get in there. Just sitting there the whole time, it's for you searching. And other countries have noticed our performance while we're in the Gulf, and they're starting to ask, hey, how do you do your training? Could we get in on this? Things are, they're looking up for us. It's a typical cliche, you know? So you tell us to do something, we do it right the first time. Yeah.
And in the Gulf, there are no second chances. Back on the Blue Eye, Winnipeg's boarding party has a few more minutes to get inside the tanker before she reaches the safety of Iranian waters.
Buffalo Soldier Tatanka, the aircraft reports that one of the bridge windows is just covered by a cardboard or some sort of plywood. Over.
That covered window on the port side, out of sight for the worried watchers on Winnipeg, might just be the break the team needs.
So they go into an engine room hatch, and then the plan is, or the strategy that they developed was to work their way through the inside of the ship to take control of the bridge. So what you actually see is there's a little bit of a diversion tactic going on here.
The pounding was so loud that inside the bridge, they didn't detect the guys who were coming up behind them from inside the ship. So when the second half of the team actually got inside the bridge, all they found was 3 guys inside there with their fingers in their ears and screaming for us to shut up.
The tactic worked. The boarding party has control of the tanker, but the captain of the Blue Eye has one more trick to play. HMCS Winnipeg's boarding party has broken into the Blue Eye's bridge.
What's the range to Iranian territorial waters, please?
2 miles.
It looks like the operation is over, but the captain of the tanker makes a final, desperate attempt to frustrate the Canadians. He sabotages the steering. Now they're trapped on the runaway tanker as it steams towards Iran. Once she gets in Iranian territorial waters, Winnipeg can't touch her.
So these 10 young men and women had to very quickly revert from being a boarding party to revert back to sailor duties to figure out how the steering works and how the engine works on a vessel that they're totally unfamiliar with. And it took them about 45 seconds to a minute to figure it all out.
It was close, but the boarding party stopped the tanker.
Time 14:53. Motor vessel Blue Eye has been taken down for the second time. XO, stand down the guns crew.
The Blue Eye and her cargo of 7,000 tons of Iraqi oil were taken to a holding area for illegal ships in the northern Persian Gulf. This was just one successful boarding by Winnipeg's team. On their last deployment in the Gulf, they took on 25% of all boardings, more than any other ship in the International Task Force. And they achieved it all without firing a shot.
These guys really did an incredible job. It's pride, you bet. I'm very proud of my boarding team, and they really, really set the standard in the Gulf during that deployment.
Not only did her boarding party set a standard, but Winnipeg's design also impressed her American allies.
There we had a classic example of frontline American units, frontline Canadian units side by side, and the sailors comparing notes. And they just were blown away at the level of sophistication of this warship.
You could describe that sophistication as a mix of high-tech readiness and low-tech savvy. This flexibility makes HMCS Winnipeg particularly useful for the conflicts of the new millennium. The 21st century warship has to be as wily as a fox, as swift as a greyhound. The key is the ability to twist, weave, and stop in an instant. HMCS Winnipeg can hit her top speed of over 30 knots. That's about 50 kilometers an hour in under a minute.
We want to demonstrate acceleration to you. So we're going to take 50,000 shaft horsepower, and we're going to throw it against 47,000 tons. And this is what it feels like. Full speed ahead.
Full speed ahead, both engines.
No steam, no pounding pistons. This is how a modern warship is powered. 2 General Electric gas turbines, almost exactly the same as those you see on an aircraft.
We're looking at the starboard gas turbine. It's similar to the airline engine, like in the 747. This is about 12 feet long and generates 25,000 horsepower. What you have here, the air comes in through the inlet. It goes through a compressor, it compresses the air, it goes into a combustion chamber where fuel is added through these nozzles. Then it goes through a power turbine, and the power turbine spins the gearbox. The gearbox transmits the torque through the shaft line, turning the propeller, driving the ship forward.
One of the curiosities of modern warships is that speed is no longer a deciding factor. In fact, they're actually slower than those in World War II. Even so, Winnipeg's speed puts her in the top 20% of the world's warships. But what makes her the envy of other navies is her agility. Turning at full speed, she tips almost 45 degrees from the horizontal. Quite the sight from the air or on the upper deck. Not so great if you have duties on the lower decks. The engines have another trick. 2 variable pitch propellers. How exactly these propellers work is classified, But variable pitch means that they can be turned to make the ship run forwards or backwards without changing the speed of the engine.
That's the luxury of variable pitch propellers. It provides tremendous flexibility and maneuverability in the ship. Really, it's like a speedboat, and it rides like a speedboat too. When we increase speed, you can actually feel the stern dig in, and you can feel the acceleration. And the same thing when you slam the brakes on, you can feel the deceleration from the bridge as well.
What's our log speed now?
29 decimal 4.
What is
29 decimal 4, sir.
Okay, full speed astern, both engines.
Full speed astern, both engines.
But the only thing that's changing is the pitch on the propeller. The shaft rotation continues to go at the same rate, it's constant, and it's just the variable pitch propellers are now digging in, and you can see that we're almost stopped now, just on the other side of a ship length.
A ship's length. That's the nautical equivalent of stopping on a dime. It took Winnipeg just under a minute to stop. Compare that to a supertanker, which takes 14 minutes to come to a halt. But using gas turbines eats fuel, 187 liters per kilometer. So Winnipeg has a more pedestrian-paced diesel engine to save fuel.
If I'm in an engineering or want to preserve fuel, I will flash my diesel engine, which is a cruise engine, and I will have the range to basically go halfway around the world on one engine. And we'll just put the ship at about 15, 16 knots, won't change the speed, and off we go.
With all those high-speed twists and turns, the crew of Winnipeg has to be ready for this.
Rescue station, rescue station. Man overboard, recovery by covered Zodiac.
You have the man visual?
The rescue is supposed to take less than 5 minutes.
And what that means is coming up at speed and turning the ship 180 degrees around and coming back in, and then stopping the ship with the man about 100 feet just off the starboard bow, and getting the rescue boat into water with the divers dressed, and then hauling the guy out.
Midships to steer 110.
Midship steer 110.
Oh, you don't want to hit him. 300 yards, 200 yards back now.
Man bears 122, sir. Very good. Start midships port 10.
Midships port 10.
Half astern both engines.
Port wheel on, man.
Very good.
Half astern both engines.
Very good. Midships.
Midships.
Out to the starboard wing.
In this case, the man overboard was Oscar, the ship's dummy. But, exercise or not, the rescue was too slow.
Good job. This exercise was screwed up right from the beginning. We should be able to do this completed with the man in the water in just over 3 minutes.
The man overboard was just one of a series of exercises for the 243 men and women on the ship before they go to the Gulf. It's a crash course in matching human skills to the demanding technology of the ship.
Exos?
My ship's company is roughly 65 to 70% new, and so in the next 72 hours, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to unify and mold the ship's company into a single team, as opposed to 243 cats that are currently running all over the place, and the old herding a cat syndrome is something that I'm trying to avoid.
Does anybody have any questions regarding your job?
So much to learn, so little time. The schedule is relentless, but in the Gulf, they'll have to be ready for anything.
Trent is extra set. Recommended airspeed for 270 speed 5. Question, they go without next set from Winnipeg.
A modern warship may seem to cruise alone on the seas, but technology allows an enemy to lurk far beyond the horizon and launch a devastating attack.
The days of coming up alongside and firing when you see the whites of their eyes are long gone, and we conduct warfare at literally hundreds, if not thousands of miles of battle space when we integrate into a much larger battle group or battle force. So technology is a key element, if not probably one of the fundamental enablers of modern warfare.
The battles of the 21st century will be clashes of time and speed. That lesson was learned the hard way during the Falklands War in the early 1980s. The destruction of HMS Sheffield revealed the vulnerability of ships to air-launched missiles. On May 24th, 1982, a French-designed Exocet, launched 20 kilometers away and skimming just above the waves, hit Sheffield Square amidships. 21 sailors lost their lives. 24 were wounded. The ship was so badly damaged, she was abandoned and sunk.
In terms of speed and distance, you have to remember that missiles that are traveling at Mach 1 or just below Mach, the speed of sound, it works out to be about a mile every 6 seconds. And so our reaction time from the time that you detect a missile until the time that you have engaged the missile and killed the missile is measured in seconds, and that seconds then translates to distance.
In Sheffield's case, the crew had just over a minute to react to the incoming missile. They lost the battle of time. From that day on, the cry Exocet strikes fear into the hearts of sailors around the world. Which is why stopping hostile missiles was one of the main design objectives for the Canadian Patrol Frigate. And it's all controlled from deep inside the ship in a dark, windowless space called the operations room.
When the ship was designed, they did a lot of ergonomic studies to find out how we would best move information around the operations room. And what we have is we have it set up so that on the port side of the ops room is where we have all of our electronic warfare sensors and fire control guidance systems. So they're all packaged or cornered in one small area of the operations room. On the other side of the operations room is where we have our anti-submarine warfare sensors. So our sonars and other ASW collectors are on that side. And then here along the front row is where we have the first level of filtering. So information from both the port and starboard side is sent into the front row, and the front row works to develop a common picture. And this common picture is then translated back to the back row, in which decisions are made which affect the operations and employment of weapons and sensors.
Technology may have changed over the centuries, but the key to winning any naval battle is still how much you know about your enemy. Winnipeg's Raytheon SPS-49 air search radar sweeps the skies, picking up any potential threat. It's so powerful, you can hear the buzz of its electromagnetic emissions on our tape. In a world where missiles cover a kilometer every 3 seconds, the aim is to identify and destroy them as quickly as possible. It's a concept called layered defense, radiating in circles around the ship. The most distant layer starts over 100 kilometers away.
Roger, selecting single, SAS, launch!
The Boeing Harpoon surface-to-surface missile packs a mighty punch. It has its own radar to lock on targets. Range, more than 130 kilometers.
The Harpoon, you can see as the stern of me, is the one that's sort of canted on an angle. And we have 4 of those on each side, so giving a total of 8. And that is an offensive weapon rather than a defensive weapon.
Which means it's used to sink other ships. The Harpoon carries a 227-kilogram warhead. That's almost twice as big as an Exocet. Comparable frigates and other navies also carry Harpoons, but Winnipeg has the edge with her defensive weapon systems.
Okay, listen up and up. We've got a possible Exocet rate in the starboard bow. The reckon's at 30 miles inbound, optimized for hard and soft kill. Eyes down and looking, expected detection range 16 miles.
A hostile aircraft can fire a missile from over 50 kilometers from the ship. Winnipeg has just over 2 minutes to destroy it before it destroys Winnipeg.
Second aircraft, suspect 5507, now at 233, 25 miles, tracking to the west. Possible super-intent dart. Again, threat is exocet.
Exocet, that dreaded word. Skimming the sea at just below the speed of sound and hard to stop. Pop-up. That means the missile has been spotted by radar. It has to be destroyed before it reaches the ship.
A system, target unreserved. Bearing 313, 24,000 closing.
Roger, selecting single, saws, launch. Unselected saws, launch.
Winnipeg's second layer of defense begins 15 kilometers from the ship and uses a Sea Sparrow surface-to-air missile. Range 15 kilometers.
The Sea Sparrow is the NATO version, and we have 16 of those on board. And they're the ones astern of me as well, canted straight up and down. And we have 8 of those on either side.
Chaff for destruction, away.
Chaff, strips of metal foil fired into the air, a decoy target to confuse the missile's guidance system. After that, it's up to the guns, the third layer of defense. Range 2 kilometers from the ship. On the bow, a computer-controlled Bofors 57mm. That gun turret, by the way, is made of plastic. It doesn't show up on radar.
Then if we come into the last layer of self-defense, it would be the close-in weapon systems called the CIWS or the Phalanx. It's the white R2-D2 looking robot on the hangar of the ship.
R2-D2, a good nickname for a formidable gun. The CIWS or Phalanx close-in weapon system.
The gun itself is a self-tracking, self-target assessing. What it'll do is when it assesses a target coming in, it assesses the threat. If it meets its threat criteria and the system is in auto, it'll engage the target and it'll track the target and the rounds coming out and zero them to get an effective kill.
20mm tungsten-tipped bullets, 3,000 rounds per minute, a wall of shrapnel. Missiles, aircraft, this gun takes care of them all.
Aircraft inbound.
From inside the operations room, it's almost like a giant video game.
A system, kill.
But these games are played in real, not cyberspace. How quickly Winnipeg responds to a threat can make the difference between survival and disaster, especially in places like the Persian Gulf.
Last year, we were stationed about 12 miles off the Iraqi coast, and we were conducting operations literally right under an Iraqi missile battery. So the flash to bang was measured literally in seconds.
Winnipeg also carries torpedoes in case of attack from a submarine. The Mark 46 homing torpedo has a range of 7 kilometers.
Armament standing by.
It can also be fired from the ship's helicopter, which carries its own anti-submarine detection gear.
Good.
With all that technology and firepower, Winnipeg should be able to fight off most threats. But just in case, she's ready to deal with the worst. HMCS Winnipeg is like a high-tech porcupine. It's hard to penetrate her defenses. But, curiously, modern warships are not armor-plated like those in World War II. That's because steel is much tougher these days. Ships like Winnipeg are designed to survive missile hits, not armor-piercing shells. In this exercise, 2 missiles have been destroyed, but debris and fuel start fires on the ship. The first rule in an emergency: walk, don't run. Those white hoods and gloves the crew puts on during an emergency are called anti-flash gear. It's made from lightweight Nomex, the same material worn by racing drivers. In the past, only gun crews wore this, but now it's mandatory for everyone.
The aim is to cover up all of the exposed skin so that if there is a flash as a result of the explosion, that people will not suffer the effects of the burns. This is a major lesson learned from the Falklands War, where during the Falkland campaign there was a whole series of injuries and death was a result just simply of fireballs and that sort of stuff from explosion. And so proper use of anti-flash gear to protect all exposed skin is a big deal.
Other lessons from the Falklands War were incorporated into the design of HMCS Winnipeg. When that exocet hit HMS Sheffield, the explosion didn't cripple the ship, but the fire it started did. The heat was so intense, it melted the aluminum superstructure. Winnipeg has no aluminum. She was built from Corten steel, a fire-resistant alloy that's 40% stronger than ordinary steel. The American Perry-class frigates were also built to survive a missile hit. But in March 1987, 2 Iraqi exocets almost destroyed the USS Stark in the Persian Gulf. The ship's sensors didn't pick up the missiles until it was too late. Her close-in weapons system, almost the same as Winnipeg's, was shut down for repairs. Winnipeg's sensors are newer, her weapons more automated. And her design makes fires easier to contain.
Look in the mechanical workshop!
If the fire isn't contained, it can spread to another deck within 5 minutes.
All right, so open the rockers, Chuck. Move.
At the exercise post-mortem, the main concern was not how quickly the fire was put out, but why communications broke down.
The net is clogged with people looking for information that's in the pipes I make. You're shooting yourselves in the foot by not taking that 15 seconds to listen to my pipe.
Starboard 30.
Why aren't you using the... They're yelling in my ear when you can just as very well talk to them in there.
You hear a lot about communications on HMCS Winnipeg. Without them, the ship would quickly collapse into chaos. So Winnipeg's designers used digital technology to create what they call SHINCOM, the Shipboard Integrated Communication System. It looks like a fancy telephone, but it combines all the internal and external communications for the ship in one unit.
On the old ships, on the steamers, we had a broadcast system. And then we also had a radio intercommunication system to transmit and receive from other ships. And also, we had a phone system, so you had 3 systems. And what this does is it incorporates all 3 systems into one.
But like many complicated systems, it's very temperamental. And with all the new people on board, the system overloads.
So we've lost all of our load. Okay. I'd say it's minor internal, sir, right now. It's just that it's inconvenient at CNC.
Yeah, get the CNC to come up, see me, please.
Aye, sir.
Well, it's worse than we thought. We've lost all of our internal communications.
Yep, 5.1 meters, sir.
It's a tough fight between whether it's a software or whether it's a hardware component. You know, so what you do is you try all the software tricks you can do. If that doesn't work, you approach a terminal like this, and then you start swapping out circuit boards.
A new circuit board, and it's all fixed. Everything will have to be perfect for the ship's next big test. HMCS Winnipeg is undoubtedly a ship of the 21st century. The machine control room, nerve center for all the systems that run the engines, electricity, heating, and ventilation, looks like something at Nassau.
Most of our systems are monitored by a platform management system called HMCS, Integrated Machinery Control System. And we have up to 5,000 sensors throughout the ship that feeds into a computer in the machinery control room that's monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
High tech indeed, but wander the decks for a while and you'll see and hear things that seem to belong to another age. Avast sounds like something from a pirate movie. It actually means stop, and it's just one of the many traditions that make the Navy unique.
You see an incredible fighting machine, but in and by itself, it's just electronics and steel. It's the people and what motivates the people and what binds the people that unifies us into a coherent and effective fighting team. And the traditions of the Navy are strong, they're proud, and there's something that is distinctive to the Navy from the merchant marine or the guys who work at McDonald's or the guys who work at IBM.
Flying stations, weather deck's about the hangar, out of bounds, off cap.
And a naval ship is the only place in the world where announcements are made with a tin whistle.
7.5 boots.
And easy.
This is the bosun's call, and what it does is we pipe it, get the information or the attention of the crew so we can give them information. How we do that is you make different hand gestures with your hand, and it gives you different pitches. So with your hand closed like this, you get the high pitch, and if you open, it's the low pitch. And you can do a variety of different calls just with the two pitches, and the entire crew knows exactly what it is when they're hearing it.
And in true nautical tradition, finding room for all the equipment and crew requires some clever use of space. For instance, there's a fully equipped sickbay on Winnipeg. But in emergencies, the wardroom, where officers eat their meals and relax, becomes a first aid station, complete with surgical lights.
I want you to push down. All right, she's coming around, okay?
And although conditions have improved since the days of hammocks, nobody seems to have figured out how to design a really comfortable bunk.
This is a standard rack on board a CPF. They're actually set up a lot better than the ones on the old steamers were, but they're not quite as comfortable because the bottom is hard. You don't have a whole lot of spring in the mattress, so the guys tend to complain a lot about that. We end up getting a lot of sore backs. Inside every rack, it's about 6.5 feet long by what, about 2.5 feet high by 3 feet wide. It's, when you pull the curtain closed, it's like laying in your own coffin. Other than that, they've got something down here called a boot locker, which never has and never will fit a pair of boots into. These are the very nice sandals that the Canadian government supplies us with. They look like something your 8-year-old niece might wear. But
In such confined spaces, the phrase ship shape is more than just words. It's essential to the smooth running of the ship.
Every night we do cleanliness rounds, what we call habitability rounds of the ship, to ensure that the ship is clean in all respects. A ship can get dirty real fast in a real hurry. So twice a day we turn to pretty much everybody in the ship to cleaning stations to keep it at a certain state. We're looking for, you know, stuff like this. They're not supposed to be storing food scraps in buckets in the flats, you know?
Yeah, it's very important with 240 people living in such a confined area. If we start letting the cleanliness and the habitability of the ship slip, we're going to end up with a lot of sick sailors around.
And on a ship crammed with computers, sensors, and high-tech weaponry, dust is a major issue.
All those piles of dust there, that's a sign of a ship that hasn't been cleaned in a while. Dust bunnies throughout the flats. We see those everywhere. We just came out of a work period. We knew it was going to be like that. It'll be a few days of constant cleaning to get it back up to standard.
Standards, exercises, 24 hours a day, the training is relentless. But it's beginning to show results. Now the crew faces a final test of the ship's technology before heading to the Gulf. A missile exercise. For the first time ever, a Canadian frigate will fire not just one Sea Sparrow surface-to-air missile, but 5.
Because if you're not pushing the envelope and you're not demanding as much as the system, you're not going to learn what the true capabilities and limitations are of the system. So this is a fantastic demonstration of Canadian technology and ingenuity.
The scenario for the exercise? Winnipeg is boxed in by a minefield and has little room to maneuver. She's attacked by missiles from 5 sides.
Zippo 1, based on Iguana, bearing a 324. Threat is Exocet. Pop up 322, 18 miles.
The targets, when they were popping up, we were identifying them, we were assigning them and locking them up at tremendous speeds.
5 missiles, 5 targets hit.
5 kills for 5 shots. That's pretty impressive, and that's certainly going to make me sleep a lot more comfortably, and I bet you it makes the team think across the whole ship, think that this is a very capable warship and that we will be well situated to operate anywhere in the Persian Gulf area or anywhere else that the Canadian government decides to send us.
089.
HMCS Winnipeg has a motto, one from the strength of many. In a few short weeks, that unity of man and machine has been achieved.